I like Doom, like, a lot. Like, I really like Doom. Like, the Ultimate Doom is my favorite FPS ever. But Doom 2's got so much more room for growth. So there's lots of mods. There's some scary mods, there's some cool mods, there's some frickin' weird mods, and of course, some nuts mods. Id once sold a pair of mods to consumers. It's called Final Doom. Is it canon? Who knows? But there's a lot of maniacs afoot in the world of Doom modding, and one of them apparently really liked Wario Lan. Treasure Tech is a game made by Ultra 64 using the Doom engine and assets as a base, and oh boy does this game slap. This isn't your grandpa's Doom guy. This is Armin Chesterfield. He's the treasure guy, and he's here to body check and ground pound demons into submission in pursuit of sweet, sweet treasure. To best explain Treasure Tech, we should probably just jump into the tutorial. This is an incredibly stylized level that very egregiously uses Wario Lan ideas and assets to showcase just what this mod is trying to do. First off, it's important to note that Mr. Chesterfield is mobile. Very mobile. I would actually go as far as to say he's more mobile than Doom Eternal's Doomslayer. This is the most mobile a Doom Pro Tech has probably ever been. Not only can he run and shoot like his more sensible counterparts, but he's also able to jump, and if that's not enough for you, he's got a shoulder dash and a ground pound. Bashing an enemy charges into him, dealing heavy damage and knocking him back, and ground pound's high area of effect makes them a great tool if you get surrounded. If you're short on room for the former and are waiting on the ladder's cooldown, don't fret. Just switch to your fists, pummel that demon into submission, and then pick him up and throw him at another opponent. They'll both drop a bunch of money that you can use in the in-game shop. This game's got a lot of Wario Lan in its blood. Hit that Action 2 key and pull up a shop run by the shadow of a quite terrifying cat-like monstrosity who will sell you all kinds of upgrades to your fists, your dash, your stamina, and your ammo capacity, as well as a special upgrade for the pistol and the auto map. You earn money from defeated enemies and exploring the environment, and certain items now drop gold as well as earning you their intended bonus. Armor, for instance, is replaced with treasure chests Armin can use to patch up his suit, but why let all that money in there go to waste? In fact, a lot of the weapons and items in this game have changed. Instead of the chainsaw and some of the soul spheres, you find treasure chests that contain a bunch of loot, including rare artifacts from other Doom WADs and indie games, including some shoutouts to Pizza Tower, which I covered a couple years ago, I think. Megaspheres are now genies that will grant you a wish, which that wish is always just maximum health and armor, so it's neat they're genies, and it's neat that they're characters. Most larger secrets also now drop a ton of money and ammo around you, which is great because this arsenal runs out of ammo faster than you can say Armin Chesterfield. That's partly because it's such an eclectic mix. All of this game's weapons are way over the top, and to compensate, their ammo capacity has been cut dramatically. Gone is the Beretta M9, now replaced with the Fortune Finder Mega Class Magnum, a firearm that holds 6 truly massive bullets at a time. Each shot kicks the weapon back into Armin's face, but one-shots most fodder enemies and puts the hurt on heavier demons. If you have a full magazine, just hit that Alt-Fire button and launch them all as one gigantic slug round that, once fired, will tear through most heavier enemies and sit on the ground. You can then pick it up and throw it again. The Heavy Kuma Mark III combat shotgun feels quite like Doom's normal shotgun, but considerably stronger. But it gets worse. Alt-Fire charges an extra round. 2-round chamber turns it into a quasi-super shotgun, 2 shells with less accuracy but more overall damage. 3 rounds overloads the weapon and it unleashes a fireball instead of any buckshot, sending lesser demons flying across the map. Replacing the super shotgun proper is the Wild Hunter Harpoon gun, which trades 3 shells for an explosive bolt that sticks into enemies. It'll detonate on its own, but it performs best when it explodes prematurely. That means that this is a fantastic combo weapon. Launch a harpoon and then tackle your opponent, or hit him with a point-blank Kuma round, or chuck an enemy into the harpooned opponent. They'll explode into an even bigger, stronger blast. Gone is the chain gun, replaced with a 308 heavy machine gun loaded with cobalt-lined cartridges. Alt-Fire unloads 10 rounds hyper burst style, with a cooldown and heavy recoil. But if you can control the blast, the final round does extra damage. The rocket launcher is no more. Instead, the Pop Rock handheld launcher is a portable firework cannon that functions similarly, but it can be charged to fire 3 rounds, much like the Doom rocket launcher in the newer games. Alt-Fire spits out a gigantic bomb that you can pick up and throw at opponents for even more damage, though it comes at the cost of potentially reducing Armin Chesterfield to a sooty paste all over the back wall, so clear some room. The two energy cell using weapons are totally revamped, the plasma rifle being replaced with the Hornet SMB, an AK patterned rifle built out of an old race car that fires synthetic energized bees. Primary fire acts like Half-Life's Hive Hand, with the projectiles firing relatively slowly and curving towards opponents. But as you run around, the weapon needs to shift gears, becoming a faster firing weapon with better homing, outright boosting your defense in the 4th gear. Standing still will cause the weapon to shift down to lower gears, so to make the most of this weapon you must constantly be moving. Though its alt-fire, a railgun beam, their pun not mine, deals high damage and pierces enemies no matter your gear too. The BFG is now the PMB. The standard fire launches a hive of bees that travels across the map, shredding opponents not unlike the modern iteration of the BFG. But its alt-fire can only be activated after anywhere between 50 to 100 successful shoulder charges, launching a massive steel piston into any enemy in front of you, killing them instantly. 50 tackles nets you the standard alternate attack, whereas the weapon's ultimate, capable of destroying a cyber demon or spider mastermind in one hit, requires 100 successful charges. All this to say, this is an insane arsenal. Every weapon looks awesome, every weapon feels awesome, they all sound amazing, they all use sound effects from everything from Earthbound and classic cartoons to the TF2 pan sound, to beef up this ridiculous assortment of eclectic weaponry to the next level. This is one of the best feeling arsenals I've ever used in a video game. Again, ammo capacity is scarce, so you have to do as much work as you can with your fists and shoulder charge. But if you do have a favorite weapon, you can upgrade their ammo capacity at the aforementioned shop. It'll cost you a pretty penny, so you need to get into this loop of fighting enemies with your fists in charge, scarcely using your weapons to take out threats that you can't really melee to death, and then using the money you earn to upgrade those weapons so you can use them more reliably. It's a fantastic loop once it gets going. After completing the tutorial, capped off with a wild Wario Lan 4 style escape sequence, you're dumped into your WAD of choice, either the Ultimate Doom or Doom 2. I went with Doom 2 for maximum compatibility, and while I can't say this improves some of the more questionable level design, Sandy, it does make it more tolerable. Levels like the Crusher and Gauntlet are over in record time due to Armin's added mobility, and the beefed up arsenal and copious number of demons in levels like Traps and Tricks means that I'm rolling in dough before not too long, capable of upgrading my shoulder charge, my fists, my weapons without too much trouble. All in all, if you like Doom but also have a fondness for classic arcade action or just Wario in general, play Treasure Tech. If you own a DOS Doom with WAD support, play Treasure Tech. This is a downright wild way to play Doom, and the polish is astonishing. It has its own intro animation, a full-color digital manual complete with ads for other indie Wario-likes and shooters, and tons of eclectic characters strewn throughout. I didn't even talk about Wrong, or W0, which is just a Wario Doom guy. They're in the tutorial, they're mentioned in the tutorial at least. But this game has so much charm and so much character that part of me wishes it wasn't a Doom mod at all. I totally get why it is, and it's more impressive that they made Doom do all of this instead of making this in Unity or Unreal. But seeing classic Doom enemies and maps designed without this much mobility and firepower, and seeing them kind of just stick out like a sore gray thumb in such a colorful, wild game, just really makes me wish that Ultra 64 has some plans to make this its own original property. If Chex Quest is allowed to exist legally as a product on Steam, anything's possible. There's so much creativity here that I'm sure they could come up with some really unique takes on these enemies that fit right in with this arsenal, and some clever use of their movement mechanics to boot. I just want levels with like the frog timer and the ground pound, like uses for those. Destructible bricks, there's not much of that in classic Doom for obvious reasons. So it'd be neat to see this kind of become its own original thing. I would gladly play a standalone Treasure Tech. It's definitely going to end up becoming a testbed for its own mods, not unlike the Sonic Roboblast series. And I'm excited for what's next for Armin and friends. Simply put, Treasure Tech might be the coolest Doom mod I've ever played. This is probably one of the most insane game mods, period. It's stylish, it's ridiculous, it's colorful, it's full of charm. It's so satisfying. I've put a download link in the description, and it's compatible with either Doom 1 or Doom 2 through GZ Doom 4.3.3 or later. Play it, please. It's so good. It's so good. If you like this video and you'd like to see more, I'd recommend subscribing. Patreon and social media links are in the description.